Rick decides to be very cautious on how to deal with the Whisperer's attack, but people aren't satisfied with his caution. People want revenge. Even Eugene suggests using Lydia against them. But after an all-out brawl, Rick is forced to think of something. He turns to an unlikely ally and asks Negan for help. Aside from pissing him off, Negan does give Rick an idea. Negan implies that his people are scared, so all he needs to do is manipulate them into feeling safe, not needing to actually act on the matter. He decides on forming a military and start training people for war. However, before he can get the word to his community, he is jumped by two of the family members of the Pike victims. One of them decides to kill Rick, but even after taking a beating, he bites his attacker's neck and kills him. The next morning, he calls a reunion to announce his vision for what comes next, sparing his other attacker of punishment and focusing everyone's attention to the importance of uniting against the Whisperers. In order to ensure that no one sees her weakness and decides to challenge her position as leader, Alpha kills one of her own after he had witnessed her crying over her daughter. While the military front is on the way, we also learn Eugene has fixed a communication radio and has started having conversations with a very cautious stranger. A boy who had his mother killed by the Whisperers and his father by Rick decides he wants to team up with Negan and warn the Whisperers of Rick's plans, in hopes that they will all kill each other. Negan decides to go along with this plan. Once at the border, we see Negan has different plans, so he stabs the boy in the heart and proceeds alone. He eventually finds a group of Whisperers. He lies about where he comes from, but is confronted by this massive individual referred to as Beta, who doesn't fully trust him and isn't very fond of Negan's loud mouth. Aaron and Michonne were sent after Negan and end up encountering Beta, narrowly escaping him with the help of Dwight and their troops. Negan is taken to Alpha, and although she finds out about his deception, Alpha decides that he may still prove useful to them. Since the Alexandras had crossed their border, this was an official act of war. As Alpha and Beta discuss the situation, we learn that in their group, anyone is a challenge away from becoming the new Alpha. But Beta is extremely faithful and would never dare. Negan kneels to Alpha and shows interest in becoming one of them, so he is put through several trials in which he appears to endure. He only has trouble allowing a couple of men to force themselves upon a woman, leading him to have this deep conversation with Alpha about survival in this world. He really earns her trust here, but even if he's now earned his place, he doesn't want to be here. He came here to get Alpha's head and bring it back to Rick. After bringing her head back, Rick decides to offer Negan the possibility of freedom, as long as he fights in the front lines of the war. Beta declares they will follow their former leader's orders, and the war officially begins. Between the dead and the Whisperers, the troops suffer many casualties, but they manage to fight back, putting Beta on the run and killing many of both their living and dead forces.
You're too big to be this fast, fucker! Ha! Thick coat for the win! Too bad you don't have a thick coat for your fucking head!
What? What just... How?
No! You fucking broke her! You broke Lucille! Ah! Fuck! No!
Beta lives. His strength will never be questioned.
No! He's fucking mine! Bring him back!
Before they can properly catch their breath, another horde approaches.
I can't go any further. We wait.
regain our strength, then we'll get our beta to safety. Have you ever
Seen his face? No. No one has. No one, huh?
No one sees my... Dwight pushes forward, going as far as stealing masks and sneaking to their hordes, taking them by complete surprise and serving them their own poison. Beta calls for their endgame, attacking the hilltop with flaming arrows, causing many deaths, a lot of injuries, and although they manage to fend off the attack, everything is destroyed in the process. When Dwight goes back to tell Rick that it's over, he mentions the hundreds, maybe thousands they killed. This causes Rick to enter a state of panic, because he didn't see hundreds, nor 1,000. He saw thousands. The true endgame was to flood them with their nuclear weapon, a herd so massive you could hear the ocean of screams from afar. Once they arrive, some saddle up to divert as many as they can away, while on the inside, Negan leads the effort to kill them by the walls, to start diminishing their numbers. But it doesn't take long for them to knock the gates down and start flooding inside. Negan saves Rick and takes him to a secure location. As the horse riders start to have an effect, the herd starts to thin. Negan and Rick work together to start clearing as many as they can. As more people start doing similar things, and even the survivors of the hilltop show up to help, things slowly start to look better. The horse riders find a suitable place to dump their herds, but Eugene puts himself in danger trying to help others, causing Andrea to have to save him. And although she is successful, she is not unscathed. Eventually, the Alexanders clear the stragglers, and people start to reunite. But the Saviors, who are now led by Dwight's ex-wife, decided this was the perfect opportunity to announce that they want to break away from Rick's community. Before any side takes action, Rick diffuses everything and calls Sherry for a diplomatic conversation. She gets aggressive, attacks Rick, and trying to defend himself, he accidentally kills her. Andrea stumbles into the room and announces to him her inevitable death. After saying her goodbyes, it's just Rick and her, so she makes sure he knows what he must do next. He struggles like he has never before, resisting over and over to pull the trigger, even getting attacked by her zombie, until finally driving a knife into her head. After all he has done, all he has been through, something like this is still incredibly hard for him. After grieving with the community, he understands that there is so much more to be done. Negan ultimately is the one to resolve the conflict with the Saviors, allowing them to finally be able to move forward. The final saga starts with Eugene's radio. A woman named Stephanie has begun to trust him, and so the idea of cooperation between the communities has become a reality. Rick sets up a meeting close to where she lives in Ohio, sending both people he trusts and those willing to endure such a trip. Dwight, even after all he's been through with Rick, has completely turned on him after him killing his ex-wife. As they set off, others make their return to the hilltop, and we see that Maggie wants to keep tabs on Negan. The scout team arrive to a mostly empty Pittsburgh, a strange sight, but they find it isn't completely empty. A lady wielding a machine gun who calls herself Princess lives there all alone. She helps them deal with some of the local dead and asks to join them in their mission. Although she gets on Michonne's nerves with all the jokes and crazy talk, she is allowed to join them. Back home, we see Paul and Aaron leave for the hilltop and stumble upon a little someone on their way. They struggle a bit to deal with Beta, but ultimately manage to defeat the nimble giant, finally unmasking him. They realize he's a famous basketball player who even appeared in a movie and was known for being in car commercials. But before they reveal his name, Beta rises again, pronounces he has no name, and falls once more. A highly famous rich person who seemingly had it all, as soon as the world goes to crap, not only joins a cult of skin-wearing freaks, but swears to it even in his last moments. Sounds exactly what you would expect from someone like that in reality. We also see them kill the remaining of the Alpha fanatics, even saving a family of new recruits who are going to die for not following the creed. Negan is truly struggling with his past decisions and the death of his wife, reminiscing on stupid decisions like naming a bat after her, ultimately deciding to make a new bat, but not connecting it to her. But as he attaches the barbed wire, Maggie confronts him. She is here to kill him, but before she does, he expresses genuine remorse for his actions and accepts his fate, even suggesting her to use his new bat. She decides that she won't kill him, so he grabs the gun, presses it to his head, and pleads for her to do it, begging for her to end his misery. But alas, she leaves him to suffer for all he's done. Later, he decides to burn his new bat and finally move on. The scout team arrive at the meet point and are caught by surprise by several men in armor pointing guns at them. A man approaches and says Stephanie wasn't authorized to speak on behalf of the Commonwealth, and they will now be answering to him. They are escorted to a safe area where the man, Lance Crosby, begins questioning them for the obvious signs of danger and unusual behavior. And although the conversation is rough at first, he does feel comfortable to take them back to the so-called Commonwealth. On the way, they stop by a board of missing people, and one of the pictures is of Michonne, apparently hung up by one of her daughters. As they arrive, we are shown the true return to the old ways, packed with a stadium for concert and football games, commerce, and a street full of people working and going about their day. They are led to a government building where a man asks for their former professions until he finds someone with a suitable one to meet with their governor. Michonne, a former lawyer, is the one to meet with Pamela Milton, and immediately things start to go bad because it's evident that inequality and oppression is also present here. Pamela explains that there are the leaders and the followers. Some are the important engines that run everything, and others just the pieces that connect to them. But before Michonne can fully push back on these ideas, she gets distracted with the idea of her daughter being alive. And in fact, she is. Sebastian, the son of the governor, decides to pull a spoiled little brat stunt against them, and before they give him a reality check, Elodie tells her mother it's important they know their place. We learn later that there's certainly a division of upper and lower class here, all based on exactly what people used to do in the world before. This discovery causes mixed reaction in the group, because on one side you have all the perks of the old world like the security, entertainment, and ice cream, but you equally have all the disadvantages of it. Pamela takes a trip to their communities and gets to meet Rick. For the moment he hears the word governor, the different worldviews start to show up. She's amazed by it all and wants to work alongside them, even though she wishes to change Rick's worldviews, while he just counters with his own wishes to bring her to his ways of thinking. Back at the Commonwealth, Michonne accepts to be their lawyer, and on the same day, she witnesses officers beating an old man on the streets. Even though she tried to help him, he ends up dead, and she's the one tasked with publicly defending the corrupt actions of the officers, which she does in order to guarantee this paradise with her daughter. A riot breaks out because of this, but is quickly diffused. This is also when Rick arrives at the Commonwealth, so his first activity is helping the locals clean the streets after the chaos. Something that forces Pamela to spring into action and start helping as well to keep a positive image. An action that disgusts her son. Immediately after, she decides on putting more soldiers on the streets as a form of intimidating the people. Dwight tells Rick they need to take over to end this corrupted state, even going as far as causing a scene in public to expose them to the public, landing him in prison, where we see Mercer, the leader of the military, declare to Rick that he thinks he should be their leader. Dwight ultimately tries to kill Pamela, but is instead killed by Rick, who did so to try and stop a civil war, but realized that he might have joined the wrong side of one. All hell breaks loose when parts of the soldiers revolt with Mercer, others stand by Pamela, and the people see all of them as enemies. However, before a civil war can truly break out, a massive herd makes its way into the community. Magna, as the one in command of Alexandria, gets impatient and unites with the Hilltop to go to the Commonwealth, arriving just in time to help deal with the herd. Once it's all cleared, Pamela arrives to finally declare war, but Rick pulls the plug immediately.
They're being reasonable, Pamela. Something I know you're capable of. I've seen it. Try it again unless you want to fight this fight on your own. That's what I thought. We don't want to fight. I can see that. Killing each other will only succeed in costing some of our lives. I think we've all been through so much. Too much. I've fallen in love with the Commonwealth. I've seen what you've accomplished here. And it is wondrous. I would fight to maintain it. I would kill to protect it. I would. I have. So I understand why we're here right now. But I look around and I see fear and anger and hatred. That's not what this place is about. That's not who we are. This is who we are. This world has scarred us mentally and physically. We carry those scars with us each and every day. They serve as a reminder of what we've lived through, what we've done to survive, what others have done to survive. Sacrifices made, all to get us here, to this point. To have so many of us here to be safe, to be close to the way things were before. I used to think we had to put our humanity on hold, embrace a savageness in order to survive. Because our world, the one we knew, was never coming back. I was wrong. We are on the road back. I can see our future ahead of us, and it is bright. We no longer live surrounded by the dead. We're not among them, not living on borrowed time. We do not live minute to minute in minutes stolen from the dead. We can be happy. We can be content. We can have peace. We can live again. We are not the walking dead. At least, we don't have to be. Not anymore. I think this world is a gift, even after all the pain it's caused me. It's a chance to rebuild things better than they were before. We haven't worked as hard as we have to bring back the old, flawed, unfair systems. We deserve a better world, a world we will appreciate because of what we've just lived through. We should have an elevated sense of respect for each other now, because we all know what we've all lived through. But that's not the case, is it? We don't seem to have that respect for each other. And you're clinging to the old ways, where the few live in a position over the many. Why? Governor Milton, I see now I was wrong to support you. I was just trying to keep the peace, hoping you would see the error of your ways eventually, that change could come from within. Now I see you for what you truly are, someone who craves power above all else. You would lead your people into killing each other just to maintain that power? I ask you, people of the Commonwealth, is that the kind of leader you want? That you deserve?
No! Rick empowers the people to take control of their lives and decide on a new leader. And even though Pamela is arrested, Rick later requests she's freed. Rick finally lets his guard down as he sees a brilliant future forward, deciding to sleep at a random hotel and even forgetting to lock his door. Unfortunately, someone decides to pay him a visit. Sebastian points a suppressed gun at him and whines about what Rick's action means for his privileged life going forward. Unarmed, Rick simply attempts to talk him down from doing anything stupid, but he does it anyway. Unsatisfied, he shoots him twice more and then runs away. The next morning, Carl goes to check up on him and is met with the sight of his zombified father. Without hesitating, he puts a bullet in his head. Rick Grimes, the man responsible for everything, is dead. Carl pays Sebastian a visit in prison.
My mother ran this place. My dad died a long time ago. My sister too. Everything was bad until we got here. Once the Commonwealth was up and running, life had never been better. We made the rules. We were on top. I did whatever I wanted. I thought I could do anything. So when your dad fucked everything up, I thought if he went away, everything would go back to normal. I've never killed anyone before. I know so many people have. So many dangerous people out there. But I haven't. They always say taking a life is hard. But it wasn't. It was so easy.
Shut up! You think I'm gonna feel sorry for you now? Everyone has been talking about you. No one likes you. No one ever liked you. You're not a good person. I can tell. You're not sad about what you did. You're sad about what happened to you because of it. Your mother was worried I was gonna take matters into my own hands. Kill you. For revenge. I like this better. I get to check on you, see your misery. You get to sit and remember the life you had. That's a far better punishment than death. My dad taught me that. It's more civilized. It's what he would have wanted. All that aside, make no mistake, if you ever get out of this cell for any reason, I will find you, and before I put you back in this cell, I will hurt you. I'll be seeing you. Ta-ta! Many people follow Carl to Alexandria to pay their respects. Carl doesn't think he can go onward. But many years later, we find an adult Carl married to Sophia with a daughter named Andrea, living in the world his father fought very hard for, one with safety and where things have gone back to normal, to the point where zombies are extremely rare, and the one he killed was considered private property of Herschel, his brother-in-law. Herschel created an attraction with the undead so people could see them since they were extinct from the safe zone. This forces Carl to go to court, where he's partially bailed out by the president, Maggie. He points out to her how her son is becoming a spoiled brat like Sebastian, a sentiment that his own sister acknowledges as something everyone agrees with. Unsatisfied, Carl goes back and kills every one of Herschel's zombies, forcing him to have to go to the High Court this time. Judge Hawthorne, aka Michonne, agrees with the outrageous nature of what Herschel is doing and rules Carl innocent of any wrongdoing. We see that a statue was also made to honor his father and all his accomplishments. Do not fear, dear reader, for this may seem like a scary book at first, and your mommy or daddy may even read it in a scary voice. Shame on them. But this is not a scary story. This is a story about hope. One day, a long time ago, dead people decided that they didn't want to be dead anymore. Nobody knows why, and don't be embarrassed. It scared everyone. Nobody knew what was happening or why, but life changed. Everyone was tested. That's why this time came to be called the trials. You've probably heard your parents talk about it. It was a scary time, and many good, strong people lost themselves along the way. They started to forget who they were. They even started to forget what was good and bad. They only worried about living. There was no time to follow the rules. Almost nobody brushed their teeth or went to sleep by their bedtime. A great darkness fell across the world. It made everyone sad. People didn't know if things would ever get back to normal. Most people were sure it never would. And they got sadder and meaner. When things were at their darkest, a man came along. Someone who had been hurt by the trials. But he didn't let it make him sad. Not all the time, at least. And we know it's okay to be sad sometimes. Rick Grimes had an idea. He knew that if he stayed together and made friends instead of enemies, we could do anything. Even remake the world. He made friends and lost friends as he moved across the country. He met people he thought he would be friends, but they turned out to be bad. He sometimes had to hurt the bad people to protect his friends. Sometimes he was scared that he was becoming a bad person, but he never did. And he taught other people how to not let the trials turn them into bad people. He even met bad people and turned them into friends. Rick traveled far and wide, always bringing his friends with him. And they made him stronger. They made him safe. And he taught people how to make friends and use them to make them stronger and safer. The trials made people so angry that some of them just wanted to fight. But Rick knew that was wrong. He showed them how to be friends instead. The trials were dangerous times, and even Rick didn't survive them. But he was able to show us the way. With his teachings, the trials ended, and life returned to normal. We even have ice cream again. People are happy instead of sad, and safe instead of scared, and nice instead of mean. All because someone was strong enough to do what was right. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're there and you're safe because of Rick Grimes. Now, for my final conclusions on the hidden secrets in this story, from all the dark to some of the bright and positives, from the truly apocalyptic and lawless beginning to the slow and gradual resurgence of society, this series explores brilliantly how dark humans get when shit hits the fan. From the monstrous governor, the incompetent cannibalistic hunters, the big bad bully saviors, and the cultist whisperers, to the aggressive husbands, several cheaters, murderers, and countless rapists. Some of these people really stand out for the things they did, but the truth is, almost everyone that survived aren't innocent and had to do something twisted along the way. Many good people had to take lives, including children. Yes, of course, the apocalypse does change a person, but as I've been alluding throughout the story, I believe it mostly exposes our true nature. All the atrocities committed by these people, both the good and bad ones, are exactly the things we see happening in our normal day-to-day life. The apocalypse allowed the already crazy to be free, but also brought out the crazy, dark, and twisted hidden inside of all of us. In some ways, I agree with Alpha. We are all wild animals who pretend we're not, and as soon as society falls, we go straight back to our primal roots. But the problem with our thinking is that we've spent millennia trying to create a better environment for ourselves. All of that just can't be abandoned. So, what happens when a survivor of wars and some of the most horrifying things a human can experience meets with the opportunity of rebuilding society? He realizes that through their shared trauma, they could not only rebuild everything, but because people now truly understand each other's loss and grief, they become much more empathetic and understanding, willing to cooperate with each other for the better good. He managed to, like a true leader, unite all the lost souls under one big cooperative community. I wish I could end it there with a final positive note. But just as ever, through the epilogue, we get to see just how fragile all the accomplishments are going forward. It is very clear that the generations that either barely experienced the period known as the trials or didn't whatsoever will tend to not think the same as those who did. They will take things for granted, forget, or simply not know what made this truly new great world. So slowly, but surely, the cycle begins once again. Most of the positives that come from dark periods of human history slowly fade as those who felt it in their own skin are laid to rest.